Alright, time to do another take on this video. Got started really good on the first take, but then something went wrong with the camera and I just froze. Can't have that, can't put that online. So let's go ahead and resume the countdown my fantasy playlist. How you doing? Mr. DJ's back. Counting down my fantasy playlist of March 18th, 1989. If you're from England, if you grew up in the 80s in England, you're probably familiar with this band. Belle Stars at number 5 on this fantasy playlist. Iko Iko, their rendition of Iko Iko, the Dixie Cup song. Well, actually, the Dixie Cups were not the first to do it, but they were the first who had the hit version of it, and that was back in 1965. I'll get into the history of that record in just a minute, but first, a little bit of history of the band. The Belle Stars, all-female band, they were in a group called the Body Snatchers, late 70s, and when the Body Snatchers broke up, some of the girls in that band, they formed another group. They got together and formed another group. Their first performance was on Christmas Day, 1980, and that was before they changed their name to the Belle Stars. Featured on the cover of Sound magazine, ginning up some interest, ginning up a reputation, playing the pubs in London. First 3 singles, though, bombed. Did not chart in England. Even though, get this, their first single was produced by a couple of guys who are working with Madness, who produced some things for Madness, the group Madness. But their luck changed when the Belle Stars, they changed course. They decided to do some covers, and they covered Iko Iko. That was the hoped-for breakthrough record in England. Instead, it got to a disappointing number 35 on the British singles charts. Boy, some major deflation right there. The timing of the release was not good. It was competing, the Belle Stars version of Iko Iko was competing with the hit version by Natasha England. Her version of Iko Iko went top 10 in Britain, and this was in 1982. So bad luck for the Belle Stars, but their luck improved though. About a year later, when they had their first British top 10, Sign of the Times went to number 3. Looked really spiffy, really cool in those tuxedos. It was played on MTV too, the video, but was not a hit here in the States. Speaking of hits, the hits started to fall off for the Belle Stars after that. They did put out an album that went to number 15. Their debut album went to number 15 on the British album charts. That's pretty much about it. But get this, Iko Iko by the Belle Stars was resurrected here in America. It was off the soundtrack. It was on the soundtrack. The song was on the soundtrack of a movie called The Rain Man. It was either Rain Man or The Rainmaker. I believe it's called The Rain Man, which starred Tom Cruise and Dustin Hoffman. And these movies, boy, they can really break a record wide open sometimes. So that's what happened. That's what happened to Iko Iko by the Belle Stars. Went to number 14 on Billboard's Hot 100, either 14 or 16. It was top 20 here in the States. Kind of amazing in the sense that the song that should have been a big hit in England just barely made top 40 in 1982, and here in the States, charm. It's a charm in 1989. The song Iko Iko, oh gosh. It was originally done by a group called Sugar Boy and his Cane Cutters in 1953. It was written by a guy named James Sugar Boy Crawford back in the early 50s. The first version of the record did not chart. It was in New Orleans. It was a Mardi Gras record, a Mardi Gras chant record, a competition record of sorts. The way that James Crawford wrote this record, the part of Iko Iko was a victory chant. It was an Indian victory chant, and Rockamo was sort of a chant that the Indians used when they went into battle. And James Crawford, he fused these two chants together in sort of a musical record. It's kind of the same way that Lloyd Price did with Lottie Miss Claudie. It was a popular expression in New Orleans. And Lloyd Price made a song out of it, and that's what James Crawford did. He took those two chants, Iko Iko and Giacomo. It's actually Giacomo, I believe, and made it into a song. Boom, there you go. Doesn't have a clue what Giacomo means. Well, anyway, the song by the Belle Stars, their version of Iko Iko at number 5 on my fantasy playlist, March 18th, 1989.